you want to start with the Viking game? Just because
I think we have to start with the Vikings. I'll say just my general takeaway from this game. I think the Lions are still the better team. I am still not sold on the Vikings. But if you were worried about the confidence of this team in the locker room, JJ McCarthy, Kevin O'Connell, the whole thing, there is no bigger deal than going to one of the hardest road environments in the entire NFL. A few independent beat reporters, including Jordan Rodriguez, have said it's the hardest place to play in 2025 in the NFL. Beating a team that's red hot, that's a divisional opponent, with your quarterback coming off of injury, there were doubts all over the place. Of a defense that's reeling. I was complaining about the Vikings being a get-right team for so many teams. The Lions were a get-right team for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I was really nervous putting out the reel this weekend. Remember I texted you about the reel with JJ McCarthy that I had come out, and you're
like, if he has a good game, am I going to look like an idiot?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, because it was a reel of me saying, clearly we made a mistake this year for this season. And I did make that clear in the video that I said it was a mistake for the Vikings competitiveness this year. And that's probably still true as we're recording this right now. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks are just absolutely smacking the Washington Commanders. That they've been unreal.
This was not an outstanding performance from JJ McCarthy. This was not he came out and lit up the Lions. He was consistently throwing behind receivers. Like, there were some problems, but this was the first time he put together a complete game where he played for 4 quarters, more or less, well enough to win.
Yeah. It was unbelievably encouraging for Vikings fans, given that, he didn't light the world on fire, but he was good. I thought most of the day he was good. Clearly room for improvement, but what we saw 7 of the 8 quarters JJ had played beforehand was putrid. You said it was historically bad debut games for any quarterback, and to have him come in today, people get tired about talking about his the moxie and just like the character of JJ McCarthy and those traits. But when you're watching the videos of the guys in the locker room after the game all week, we're hearing stories about how Kevin O'Connell have lost the locker room, or it was starting to unravel. That room looked pretty tight today, and they clearly love JJ, and he's just got that look in his eyes. I mean, all the stuff you hear everyone talk about him, you see that in these moments here, and we've seen that now. Amazingly, JJ McCarthy is 2-1 as a starter in the NFL, despite all the ups and downs. Yeah, JJ has a winning record in the NFL right now. And I think it was a pretty humbling afternoon for me too, as someone who talks about the games all the time. That's why I was worried to put that reel out, ragging on a dude who never really just hasn't had a chance yet. So I actually kind of felt bad, like watching the game. I'm like, man, you gotta remember sometimes these guys, you gotta give them a little bit longer of a leash I thought we had been pretty good about that over the past few months when people are saying, what a mistake this was. Go ahead.
Yeah. And look, Baltimore comes to Minnesota next week. That is going to be a very, very difficult game. I am still not expecting the Vikings to make the playoffs or win the division. Realistically, they probably have to go 6-2 or 7-1 over the rest of the schedule to make the playoffs or to win the division. But if the goal of this season at this point, we said it earlier in our show of Andy Herman, if the goal of this season is to see JJ McCarthy grow and develop and start playing better football, this game was totally on the right track after the Falcons debacle and after him missing a bunch of games.
Yeah. It saved the season.
Right? There's nothing better than watching your rookie quarterback figure things out in real time by beating a monster divisional opponent on the road.
It gives me faith in the season again. I know I came on here after the Charger game and said season over. Then I amended it a couple days later. Cooled off. You need the 24-hour rule when reacting, especially to Minnesota Vikings football. And I said, and I think I kind of got laughed at rightfully by everybody, right? By you guys, by Andy on our collaboration show. I said, if we win this game, and it's not likely, but if we win this game, I'm going to believe again. And that's just the kind of fan I am. People say, I'm the dreamer of the show. I think you could say, delusional most of the time, but sometimes it's based on realistic thoughts. I don't know if beating Detroit was a realistic thought, but yeah, you go in there and beat them, and we have been whooped by these guys for a long time. I mean, when's the last time the Vikings beat the Lions? Was it like 2022 or something?
I can't even remember the last time we went into Detroit and beat them. In 2022, we beat them at home. When's the last time we went into Detroit and won? 2021.
Probably, yeah. Even the year, I think 2022, right? That's the year they started off really, really bad and then won like 8 in a row. We were their first win of the year, I think, in Detroit on Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown.
The last time we beat the Lions in Detroit, you know who the leading rusher for the Lions was that game?
DeAndre Swift.
Adrian Peterson.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Yeah, I had no idea that was the case. But what you also can't underestimate or overstate, I'm sorry, the Vikings injuries this year have been brutal. They really, really have. I mean, Darisaw, O'Neal, Van Ginkel, Aaron Jones. I mean, we could go on and on and on about the guys that have missed time. They all came back today. And Aaron Jones goes for 78 yards on the ground, but on only 9 carries. He averages 8.7.
And he was not the most impactful former Green Bay Packer in that game for us. Eric Wilson was.
Yeah. Oh, Eric Wilson played great. Van Ginkel had a number of plays where he created pressure. I mean, the Vikings.
Javon Hargrave showed up for the first time this season.
Yep. The Viking defensive line was fantastic today. They had 5 sacks. They had 11 QB hits. They were all over Goff. It was just a completely different team.
We were promised.
Yes.
This was the team with the elite defense that can make things easy for JJ McCarthy, with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones making big plays. And JJ McCarthy just has to get the ball where it's going some of the time and will win. Yeah.
Yeah. And you saw it on both sides of the field, the impact these guys returning had. Van Ginkel on the defense, and then obviously up front with O'Neal and Darisaw. That's another thing that I felt bad about Carson Wentz. He caught a lot of flack, and Carson held the ball way too long, way too many times. But he's out there. We read the stats last week. The Vikings backups are really bad. Not trying to throw shade on anyone, but they were terrible. And it doesn't help when you have a quarterback who holds the football too long, putting him behind what was probably the worst offensive line in football.
Except maybe the charges of their tackles out.
Yeah, but it was going to lead to disaster. And you saw everyone back today. Yeah, just a totally different team. And the Vikings last week ran for 34 yards. Today, you get some of those pieces back. 142 on the ground, 29 carries. They were clearly more dominant rushing the football. They also were clearly trying to do that more today. It's just easier when you have everyone coming back. Yeah, JJ was not perfect, but made a couple really big time throws. Could have had a touchdown early to Addison. Great ball that Jordan wasn't able to bring down. Then when you had to have it, right? How many times have we seen it looks like the game's over? Vikings have the ball on the 1 yard line, and we just have to be the worst team in football when you need 1 yard. The Lions get the stop. We go up 10. Detroit immediately down the field. And we're all sitting in the bar going, well, we've seen this game a million times before.
Everyone knew the Minnesota Vikings were losing that game.
Everyone knew how it was going to happen. We were going to get the ball back, go 3 and out. And if Detroit gets that football, there's no doubt in my mind they're going down the field, not just tying it, probably winning the game with a touchdown. And the Vikings have a 3rd down. Was it 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7? Put the ball in JJ McCarthy's hand, and I thought JJ made a decent throw, and Jalen Naylor just with a terrific catch, a season-saving catch that now puts us at 4-4, and yeah, one game behind Detroit in the standings, a game and a half behind the 5-2-1 Packers. But I'm totally back in, Ziggy. They find a way to rope me in every single time. I don't know how these guys do it. I should have known, and that's why I was thinking it was a chance, because this was the only way to make the heartbreak worse as the season goes on. But I'm jacked up now. I'm really excited for the Raven game.
One thing we didn't talk about much, but that deserves a huge amount of attention. Blitzing Jared Goff worked this game. And initially, I thought that was really strange because historically, Brian Flores blitzes no matter who. But historically, Jared Goff has lit us up and we've blitzed him. The big difference this time, and I think actually the most important thing for us this game, was our run defense.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you blitz Jared Goff, he doesn't have to worry because he's got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. You can just take the ball. Holding them on a combined 25 carries to 65 yards and 1 touchdown, against the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
That is an incredible performance.
I can't
Blake
remember.
Cashman stepped up in a huge way. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, Cashman forced the fumble on Montgomery. That was a massive fumble. How many times can we say we look back on a Detroit game and they have 65 rushing yards? It just doesn't happen. We've been scorched by Gibbs last season. I think he had, the 45, 50-yard TD run in Minnesota, and then he went ballistic in that Week 18 showdown for the 1 seed. A week after I was basically saying he was the most important player on the team, we were able to stifle him. It was a really inspired effort from the Vikings, who it's been a bad year. There's no way around it. It's been a really disappointing, just bad season. And now they're 4-4 with an opportunity to come home and play the Ravens. And you beat Detroit and Baltimore back-to-back weeks, Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. The NFL is amazing how quickly your perception of a team can change your goals for the year. And we're not going to overreact, we said. We're really happy about this win, but manage expectations. We don't have to come on here. Just because JJ McCarthy wins a football game against the Lions does not mean we have to come on here and say the savior is found. We're going to the Super Bowl like a lot of people were doing after week 1. And I'm not talking just Viking fans. I'm saying national media after that Bears game. Just you can't put these expectations based on a 60-minute game. You have to see more, and we're not going to do it. I think we do a good job of keeping our emotions in check usually.
And I'll tell you this, I'm actually not worried about that Ravens game basically at all, win or lose.
No,
I think the Vikings' best path to making the playoffs, if we are going to go on a playoff run, is winning the division. And that's going to require us winning at least 3 and probably 4 of the next 4 division games we have up.
I am really content. I'm very content. A week after I was just crushed emotionally, drained. I mean, physically, I felt drained watching that Charger. Basically turned the game off. I feel really happy right now.
We're undefeated in the division.
Yeah, now we're undefeated in the division. All of a sudden, I'm like, hey, we're just gonna screw around and win this thing. It's no pressure. It actually feels the way when you're I did this in college at one point. I just had this F it mentality, and everything was, because it just got overwhelming with school and whatever was going on. And I was like, you know what? Nothing. This was horrible. We said nothing matters. Do you remember that? We got into the nothing matters phase, which is a very poor way to live. But
and also comes about every year for Minnesota Vikings fans.
Yes, but I remember. I think Tommy, Colts fan Tommy Cashus, who's not happy today, but we were like, yeah, nothing matters. And it wasn't so much to say that, yeah, your life's not important. It was just, let's take it easy. Let's relax. Let's have fun and just enjoy this thing. And that's sort of where I'm at with the Vikings. Nothing really matters. Yeah, JJ, let's have JJ go out there, play loose, have fun. Let's win. And let's win some football games. So I feel great. And as far as the Lions go, we're going to talk about the Packers and how horrible that loss was in just a minute here. This was a bad loss for Detroit.
You cannot let JJ McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings, coming off a 37-10 shellacking against the Chargers, go into your building and win.
No, not with how the Vikings looked last week at all, and not with JJ coming in. And JJ played well, right? It's not like you got to give JJ a little credit. Well. But the Lions, the Lions opened the game with the 6-play, 72-yard touchdown drive. They have a 4th and 4. 40-yard touchdown. Sam Laporta's dragging Vikings into the end zone, and I'm parking at that point in time before we walk into the Viking bar, and I'm like, all right.
No, I just sent you a text that said it's bad.
Yeah, and I was just like, all right, here we go. Like, this is going to be a shellacking. And I think by the time I had gotten back, right when I got in, we basically had scored on the Jefferson touchdown catch, the one-hander, which was awesome. I actually still haven't seen that play because I was just walking into the bar. But and then the Viking defense, I mean, listen to this. After the initial touchdown for Detroit, these are their drives. Punt, touchdown, punt, fumble, field goal, blocked field goal, and that touchdown drive they had at the very end. Just a great day for the Viking defense, and one that, you restore faith in JJ, you restore faith in Brian Flores and that D. But, wow, pause. But, wow. But as far as Detroit goes, yeah, can't lose that game. And Goff did not look comfortable most of the day.
It's so hard to make Jared Goff uncomfortable. The fact that he's 25 for 37, 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and we're saying, wow, Jared Goff looks so uncomfortable.
I know. And they had a lot of success over the middle of the field. It was unbelievable how aggressive the Vikings were, and how the Lions usually make us pay for that.
It's never worked against them until today.
It was almost bizarre, because at some points in the game, Goff was tearing them apart in the middle of the field. And I'm like, oh my God, but Brian, like drop some guys. Can we do something about this? And they stuck to the game plan, and they kept getting home. And how many times did it feel like we just had a monster sack when we needed it? I just could not have been more impressed with the effort in a game where the Vikings really easily, after last week, could have come in and folded. It was great. It was just awesome. And we'll move on to Baltimore and the Lions. Who are the Lions next week? They got the
Lions play. Who do they play?
They're at Washington, who is
they got to win that game.
Yeah, really big game.
I expect they will.
I expect them to. Also, we said while we were on the phone while I was driving back from Boston, and we said the one thing about Detroit that you can remain confident in is that they're not going to break spirit. Like, their spirits are not going to be broken, and Campbell will have them ready to go in that. You're confident in who this Lions team is and their ability to bounce back and handle adversity. Now, they haven't had much adversity, really thinking about it, over the past couple seasons. Last year, you're 15-2. I'm sorry.
They overcame a lot of adversity to get there. But in terms of coming off tough losses.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Which is what you mean.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, because you have your whole team injured last season. There's a ton of adversity. But record-wise, I mean, like, there were not many games where it felt, okay, like Detroit's got to get this right. If they lose to Washington, it's 3 out of 4 games, I believe they've lost then, which would be more than all of last season. But no, yeah, you're totally right. This team has faced adversity in the injuries last year.